Hello, hello. This is Dallas Cohen, the Rebound Coach, and you are watching or listening to an episode of the Rebound Coach Live. I am so glad that you are here today. If you are here with me live on Facebook or you are listening on YouTube or another app, please leave your name in the comments. Let me know that you are here. Let me know where you're listening from, what app you're listening from. If you're watching the replay, just go ahead and put replay. I'd love to come in the comments and say hello. I am so glad that you're here. And if this is your first time at the Rebound Coach Live and sharing virtual space with me, you might say, what is a rebound coach? I've never heard of that. I don't know what you're talking about. And I'll share just a tiny bit about how it is that we came to spend time together today. So this episode is called Why Should I Keep Going? And that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Why should I keep going? A lot of people, a lot of high achievers, a lot of leaders find themselves overwhelmed by weariness or attacked by weariness or just feeling like, gosh, why am I doing this? I don't know about you guys. It happens to me. It happens to people I talk with. And there's some shame in it. Like, we don't want to admit that this is happening. We don't want to admit that we're not feeling excited about even good things that are happening in our lives. We're not feeling excited about projects or new things that used to excite us, right? Things that used to help us get up in the morning. Now it's just like going through the motions. And you might wonder, how in the world did I get here? So backing up, I'm going to share a bit of my story with you now, and then we'll go into a little bit more later. But I was married for 10 years to someone who wanted me dead. And that didn't make a lot of sense for a high achiever kind of person like myself. Particularly, I was raised in a good, godly home. I had parents that loved God. They loved each other. They were married for a lifetime. Those are the statistics that are supposed to set you up for success. And they were a great example of marriage and family as best as they could be. At the same time, I was molested from age 8 to age 16, and that radically affects how you see yourself in a household of faith, how you relate to God, and how you relate to the opposite sex, how you relate to men. So fast forward, when I met the man that I married and eventually divorced, there were definitely red flags. It was not a deception. It was definitely red flags going on. But I, as a praying woman, believed God's answer was yes. And because of that, I believe whatever came, we'd overcome it. We'd outlast it. God would swoop in and change things. I just needed to do my part. I just needed to be a good wife, and everything would kind of fix itself. Well, that did not happen. Trouble came right away and never quite left. We got into a cycle of what I call coping and crisis. So it's where you're kind of barely making it. You don't ever get to satisfy. You don't ever get to happy. You don't ever really get to good. You just learn how to cope. You learn how to walk on eggshells. You learn how to do this dance. And there were many abuse dynamics happening. Spiritual abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse, religious abuse, which is similar to spiritual and used interchangeably. There was some physical in there, but mostly those other dynamics. Serial adultery was part of it also. And so, we were doing this coping dance thing, and every so often a big crisis would come and just like throw all your Jenga pieces on the floor. and you're having to rebuild every so often. Well, we did that cycle for the larger part of 9 years, and things kind of came to a head a few years back. He left for another woman, and I found out a day later he and that woman had been plotting my murder for months by the time I found out about it. Needless to say, like, your whole life comes crashing. This is the record scratch moment when you're watching the movie. You just kind of come to a halt, and you're trying to figure out, how is this my life? How did we get here? How did we get here? I was a good person. I was a good girl. I did what I was supposed to do. And y'all, I had a lot of really important decisions to make. But ultimately, through a series of divine events, I'm here. I'm alive. My kids are alive. We are growing and learning and changing and deconstructing and reconstructing and finding new ways to do life well and choosing life. I could allow the identity that my ex-husband had planned for me, and quite frankly, the one I had agreed to tell me who I was, how I was allowed to express, the number of days I had left on the planet, or I could choose life. And so I wrote a memoir coming out of that. It was really helped in my healing. And the book is called I Choose Life: Rewrite Your Love Story and Change Your Legacy. And it's not just about my relationship story, but my relationship with love, like how I learned to love and be loved, and how you learned to love and be loved, which is something we learn long before we're in any romantic relationships. And it is the story that repeats and repeats and repeats unless we do something intentionally to make a change. You can find this book at thereboundcoach.com/book. That is thereboundcoach.com/book. You can get one of these physical copies where I'm actually going to read from today, y'all. Story time. Read a little bit today. Or you can get one from Amazon. They will ship it to you, or you can get an ebook copy there as well. All the information is at thereboundcoach.com/book. So why should I keep going? What is the point? It sounds hopeless, and it sounds, not positive, not strong. And this is why strong people don't like to admit to it. But weariness comes, y'all. It comes. And I would specifically say it can come, hope deferred makes the heart sick. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. Sick hearts can't or have trouble connecting to a positive future, right? And if you don't have a positive future, and the past is yucky, what is there? There's right now, right? And if right now is not going toward a good future, a life that you're hoping for, a life that you're wanting to build, you're just going day to day, right? Because the future is you're disconnected from hope. It's very discouraging. And you end up just going through the motions, and you end up just, doing what you do because you're expected to do it, but not getting any pleasure out of it. And especially things that used to bring pleasure, things that used to get you out of bed and get you excited, and things that were hopeful, things that had hope in it for you, and things you were excited to share, and people you were excited to be around, and all the things. Suddenly that just kind of is like, well, that's boring. Oh, I just did that. Oh, what's the point? Right? This is how you know weariness is present. Okay. You may feel like the past is too painful and the future is not real. A positive future is not real. So you just go through the motions and distract from pain with love hungers. So we've talked about love hungers before. This is the stuff we use to stuff our feelings. This is the things we use when we are hungry. What are we hungry for? People are hungry for love. People are hungry to be seen, to be known, to be honored, to be cherished, hungry for intimacy, hungry for love. So when we have that hunger and don't have an answer, or an answer we feel is healthy, we reach for not so healthy things. These are overeating. This is drugs. This is sex. This is sleep. This is workaholism, or any of the other isms. We can get preoccupied with just things that don't matter. So again, we talked about how do we get here? Through hope deferred and sick hearts not being able to see a good future, and just having a bleak present. So I shared with you earlier that I was in a coping and crisis cycle. So I'm going to read a part of my book here that kind of, it gives you a bit of context around the marriage I had. I can't read everything. It's just a little bit of context here, and a season that I write about of being hopeless. So this is a section called the boa constrictor, and y'all, I take my glasses off to read, so don't mind me. The experts define domestic spiritual abuse as the use of religious text, religious principles, or one's spiritual authority to control a family member. Spiritual abuse can include psychological abuse and emotional abuse, any act by deeds or words that shame or diminish the dignity of a person, intimidation, and the requirement to submit to a spiritual authority without any right to dissent. That sounds like the entirety of patriarchy and the submission message to women in church today. Like that, if you could sum it up, that's what I would call that. Unreasonable control of a person's basic right to exercise free will in spiritual or natural matters. False accusations and repeated criticisms by labeling a person as, for example, disobedient, rebellious, lacking faith, demonized, apostate, an enemy of the church or of a deity. Isolationism, separation, disenfranchisement, or estrangement from family and friends outside the group due to cult, religious, or spiritual or indigenous beliefs. Okay, so those are fancy definitions, but I'm going to tell you what this looked like in real life, in my life. I experienced each of these in my marriage, but they didn't come all at once. It was kind of like being squeezed slowly by a boa constrictor. At first, it's kind of thrilling. Then it feels warm and keeps getting tighter until your ribs are broken and you're struggling to breathe. He hated when I wore makeup. Now, mind you, I was wearing makeup when we met and he had no complaint then. But eventually, he said everything from it meant hate to wearing makeup all the way to calling me Jezebel because he said Jezebel was painting her face when she was attacked by dogs in the Bible. It's ridiculous, really, the lengths he would go to demean any choice I made and exalt his opinion. He was specifically very controlling when it came to my religious expression. I wanted to honor my husband. I really did. But it seemed like the rules kept changing. At first, he would just put increasing restrictions on himself, like saying he wouldn't eat certain things that had nothing to do with the Bible or the Nazarite vow, or wouldn't celebrate certain holidays, again, extra biblical restriction, but allowed me and the children to do so. Eventually, we couldn't do it either. It would cause huge fights for us because I would bring him scripture proving that what he was doing wasn't mandated by God and was just him being restrictive. He would swear that God told him this or that, and that was the end of it. And who can argue with, God told me to? One day he said I could no longer kiss my children on the lips because it might turn them gay. He said their first kiss on the lips should be on their wedding day. I argued in vain that a mother's kisses didn't have that much power and wouldn't ruin anything. At the time of that writing, my kids still kiss me on the cheek by muscle memory. It's not the case anymore, but it was when I wrote this. He would say that I couldn't go on a business trip that my job had invited me to attend. He gave no explanation. He just said I couldn't go. I was invited to speak at a congregation and he forbade it. I went anyway, no harm done to date. Whenever I wanted to do something, the answer was no. This made the Christian expectation to run major decisions by your husband and submit to his leadership really hard to do. We had to have separate bank accounts because he would steal money out of the joint account for nothing in particular until it was gone. At one point, he was stealing cash from my purse, so I bought a lockbox to keep my wallet in at night. He would eat so much food. I would buy double and triple of something so the kids and I would have enough for the week, and he would eat all three. Oh, wait, I turned too many pages. Physical copies of books, y'all. Sorry, I have to turn a page. Of course, it's not cooperating. Okay. He would pick through food in the refrigerator and eat parts that he wanted and leave the rest, like eating just the meat out of a casserole or picking the toppings off a pizza. I was infuriated at him one day for it and railed when I found something else of mine picked through and half missing. He said that he was miserable in the house all day and that's why he ate like that. I asked why he was miserable. He says, never mind. If there was something in the house that was restricted by his Nazarite vow, he would eat it. Many times he would drink my wine or eat something with grapes in it and say he, quote unquote, got tempted. But there was never repentance or the steps required by the Bible in such circumstances, only justification and cover up. Yet he proclaimed that he was sinless. Yes, you read that right, and adhered perfectly to the Torah and his Nazirite vow. I could go on, but I think you get the idea. I did my best to do what was spiritually necessary to deal with the man I had, as opposed to the man I wish I had. I was far from meek and submissive, though. I argued, debated, and proved my rightness in every turn. But in the end, he got what he was demanding because he was the head of the house. In those days, suicide came by like an old friend. She moved in with me uninvited. I would get flash visions of myself being held up against a wall and choked. I didn't fight the visions. It was exactly what I felt like. I sighed a lot. I'd spend as much time as work and out of the house as I could. Then I would come home and we would argue. He would run away from confrontation and leave the house. I would cry myself to sleep, then get up in the morning for work and start the cycle over again. Life was miserable, and my home was a war zone. I remember interrupting his verbal barrage one day to say I hated my life and I hated this marriage. I was hopeless to change him or change things. The only out I saw was suicide. So I'm not going to go further than that because there's more story here, but it gives you an idea of what hope deferred looks like, of what spiritual abuse looks like in a marriage, and how it can just very, very slowly, what seems like slowly, but becomes just such an oppressive life. And when you're in that level of oppression, that level of depression, it's really, life can feel and seem very hopeless. The truth of the matter was there was hope then, there is hope now, and there's always a way to freedom. There's always a way to choose life. Even in those moments, long before I felt like there was any choice to leave or anything like that, none of that was in my thought process. I was very, very committed to marriage, to staying married, and didn't feel like there was any other options. And that was part of the hopelessness. If you feel like you can't get out of pain and you're not allowed to have other options, right? There's no other option but stay in this pain. And the other option is to die because we don't want, naturally we are pain adverse, right? Naturally, we're trying to avoid painful situations. And if you feel like there's no way out, but the truth is there is, right? There is. So why should you keep going? Why should you keep going, right? You don't have to, guys. The truth is we don't have to. We can stay in that hopeless state and allow whatever is eating us to eat us until we are destroyed. Or we could choose life. We can choose life. You're already here. You might as well make progress. If there is a choice for life, if there is a choice for joy, if there is a choice for wholeness, if there is a choice for just not dying today, that's a choice worth making. Right? Because sometimes we're so buried, we can't even see things like hope and joy and love and wholeness and freedom. And like, we can't even imagine those things as real. But if you can just be like, I'm just not going to die today. That's it. I can't promise tomorrow, but today I'm going to breathe all 24 hours of this day. And then tomorrow make the same commitment. I'm just going to breathe 24 hours of this day. Right? And some of you may not even be in terrible crisis. You might just be run down. You just might be run down. And I will tell you that there is purpose that you're not connected to that you want to be. There are dreams you're not allowing yourself to dream. There are limits you're putting on yourself, and the old identity doesn't fit anymore. You're bigger than that now. and you can't wear it anymore. And if you continue, you can continue to wear it. No one's going to stop you, right? But if you continue to wear the old identity, you'll continue to feel worn down and tired and bored and overwhelmed and stressed, and like it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter. Somebody said to me recently, gave me a hug and said, "You've changed my life. You'll never know how much you've changed my life." And that's such a treasure. It's such a treasure to hear, and it's such a treasure to hold, because often when people tell us beautiful things like that, we don't hold it. We just let it go right through the fingers, whoop, and you move on to whatever duty bound thing your whatever duty bound thing your old identity tells you is safe to embrace, and you don't embrace the beauty of the fruit of your labor. For those of us who are duty bound high achievers, your labor has never been in vain. It's never been in vain. There's fruit everywhere. Good, beautiful fruit that what you've done is worthy, if you choose to accept that, if you choose to believe it. And so there are still differences for you to make. Not only have you already made differences in the world, in your life, in the lives of the people who are watching you live, there's still differences for you to make. There's still purpose for you to walk in. There's still impact. And we all love that. We all desire and crave that. We want to make our difference in the world, whatever that is. Not just being fulfilled by living a dream, but being fulfilled by making positive impact in the lives of others and in the world overall. So, all right, you told me I should keep going, but how do I even do that, Dallas? How does that even work? Okay, y'all. These are not necessarily simple steps, or necessarily easy steps, or necessarily quick steps. But here are the steps, okay? You ready? Okay, here we go. There's 3. Number 1, work through shame and self-loathing. You're like, yo, that's deep and heavy. I know, I warned you. Okay, so working through deep things. I don't recommend you do this by yourself at all. I recommend that you retain the services of a professional, whether that is a coach, a life coach, a therapist, someone who can walk you through some deep things, because we don't get out unless we go through. I Choose Life is my second book. I wrote a first book called Goodbye or Go Through: How to Live Happily Ever After When Life is No Fairy Tale. Now, mind you, I had a very different view of marriage in those days. However, what is still true is the only way out is through. We don't, and when I say out, I mean out of depression, out of trauma, out of drama, out of anxiety, out of overwhelm. We try to apply strategies from out here, from out external, and say, I'm going to learn these 5 steps from this guru who's going to give me practical means to get out of my stuck place. And practical means are good, but they are not they're not the sustainable answer. The sustainable answer is, man, you got to go back through that junk and deal. Not saying that it's fun or quick or simple or easy, any of those things, but I am saying they're absolutely necessary. This is deeper than your situation. It's deeper than like, oh, I'm tired because my schedule is full. Nah, dude, your schedule is full because you don't want to deal with stuff, right? And when you have pockets of breaks, instead of resting, you're scrolling or doing other things that don't allow you to deal, right? So, number 1, work through shame and self-loathing. Forgive, release, and bless. I'm chuckling because, like, I know that's heavy stuff. Okay. Number 2, tell yourself the truth. Tell yourself the truth. Tell yourself the truth, man. Okay. So most of the time, it's the opposite of the voice that's causing you depression in your head, right? So the voice that's like, this doesn't matter. You don't matter. They're not singing it happily. There is, you don't matter. You're ugly. You can't do it. It'll always be like this. Okay. Tell yourself the truth. And I've said this before, and I feel like I said it within the last couple of weeks. He makes all things new, right? Like, that's a truth that has nothing to do with you. Even if you don't believe anything positive about yourself, believe that he makes all things new. Regardless of what's going on with you, what has or what hasn't, he makes all things new. Just start there. It's very strong. Step 3. Okay, so number 1, deal with, work through shame and self-loathing. Number 2, tell yourself the truth. Number 3, this is fun. This is fun, I think. Okay. Practice receiving love and honor from others. Okay, so we talked about it earlier. At our core, we all need psychological safety. We all need honor. We crave to be seen, to be known, to be loved, to be honored, right? So practice allowing those core needs to be met. You might be like, well, nobody's around who loves me and honors me. That's not true. It's not true. It's not true at all. First of all, God's around. We know that for sure. And secondly, if you're here, it's because you are building yourself. You are dedicated to personal development and growth. You want to heal. You want to get better. And you're not alone in that. There's people around. The community that's on my page, the people that are on this live, that are watching and listening and making comments, those folks, that's your tribe. Folks that come to Sanctuary Experience, that's your tribe, okay? So you're not by yourself. Allowing that core need to be met frees us to care about the future. It literally frees us, because then when we're not stuffing with love hungers and avoiding all the things, we can be like, you know what? There's something great ahead. And you won't believe it. You won't even believe it until you've gotten through those other steps. And so I want to give you an opportunity to practice that right now. Did you know there was a practice coming right now? Yes, right now. I'm going to play a video of something that I wrote for you. Yes, I wrote it for you. And it is an opportunity to practice receiving that love and honor. So listen with your heart open, and I will be right back. I know that if I asked you how you were today, you'd say you were fine. I also know what that fine means. It means you're alive, you're clicking through the to-do list every day, and haven't collapsed yet. I also know the collapse that's happening behind closed doors. You wonder why no one sees you cracking from the inside. Your 50% capacity is someone else's 150, so it always looks like you're doing just fine. You fooled everyone, even yourself, into thinking you don't need more than what you already have. But baby, you need so much more. I want you to know that I see you. I see your great worth, your beautiful strength, your resilience and tenacity. I reach past your intellect and speak to your spirit to say that you are so much more than the trials you've been through. You're not defined by who touched you, who left you, who ignored you, or who betrayed you. You're so much more than the men that laid you waste. I know you didn't feel like you had a choice in giving everyone what they wanted from you. But I am here to help you walk in your power unapologetically. I wrote this book to help you. I'm bearing my scars so you know you're not alone. I want you to know that there's hope and freedom for you. Not just survival or the everlasting wait for something good to finally happen. There's more to the love story than the preachers told you. Playing their game never worked anyway, now has it? Process your story while you read mine. This isn't meant to merely entertain you or to cause pity for me. I need you to know that walking through your own darkness is the way to the light. The only way out is through, and the only one to decide to take the road less traveled is you. No one can choose greatness over mediocrity but you. The status quo is to think that because what happened is over and you're functioning, that you've survived and nothing else needs to be done. But the greatness within you lays dormant, and those you're meant to feed your truth are starving, Work through this, my dear. Work through this. We need you. On the other side of working through your trauma, so much love. Being able to receive the loving touch of your bridegroom, making up for all the touches that took from you. He sees you too. I've been sent to give you this message because he wants to breathe life into your very soul. In all the places that have gone uncared for, neglected, and rotting, if you allow his light on the pages to touch you there, you'll see that this book will breathe life into your relationship with yourself. That changes your love story and trickles through all areas of your life. Most importantly, this book will breathe life into your relationship with hope. I can't wait to introduce you to your true self. And if you're ready to, then let's go. I hope that brought a bit of encouragement to your heart today. I want you to know that you are not alone and you don't have to walk through this alone, that there is so much beauty and strength on the other side. And even if you can't see it, it's still there. I just want to encourage you to keep putting one foot in front of the other. You don't have to have it figured out. You don't have to know what's around the corner. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. It's worth it, and you're worth it. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me today. I'd love to hear what your takeaways were in the comments. And if this encouraged you today, share this episode with someone you care about and someone you want to choose life. All right. Thank you so much again. If you're on Clubhouse, happy to join the after chat with you. And until next time, folks, choose life.